There's something strange happening in our solar system right now. Something that no one, not even the most advanced space agencies, can fully explain. It's called 3I Atlas, an interstellar visitor traveling between worlds. At first, scientists thought it was just another comet, a frozen relic drifting through the void. But as the James Webb Telescope and other observatories turned their instruments toward it, everything we thought we knew about this object began to collapse. It glows when it shouldn't. It moves when it shouldn't. It behaves like it's aware of being watched. And now, the latest data from the James Webb Telescope suggests that something truly bizarre is happening. Something that could change how we understand not just comets, but the very idea of intelligence in the cosmos. In the deserts of Namibia, astrophotographers under a lunar eclipse captured what no one expected to see: a brilliant emerald glow radiating from 3I Atlas as it passed silently through the dark sky. Normally, that color is caused by diatomic carbon, C2 molecules reacting to ultraviolet sunlight. But spectroscopic readings showed a shocking absence of C2. In other words, there was no carbon capable of producing that green light. The object was glowing in a way that defied chemistry. Even stranger, the emission wasn't constant. It pulsed rhythmically, every few seconds, like a heartbeat echoing through space. Some scientists suggested exotic radiation or metallic fluorescence. Others whispered about technology, an artificial process controlling light at an atomic level. Whatever the cause, one fact became impossible to ignore. 3I Atlas was glowing in a way no natural object ever had. When the James Webb Telescope analyzed the light spectrum from 3I Atlas, it found something even more puzzling: high concentrations of nickel and carbon dioxide, but almost no water vapor. That's the exact opposite of what a comet should contain. Metals like nickel only vaporize at extreme heat, near the sun, yet this object was releasing them while still between Mars and Jupiter. To make things worse, the ratio of CO2 to H2O was completely reversed. For a comet, that's like finding smoke without fire. Theories began to spiral out of control. Was 3I Atlas generating its own heat? Was it hollow? Could it be emitting exhaust? The combination of nickel and CO2 was too specific to ignore. Both are byproducts of combustion in high-performance alloys. Some physicists quietly admitted that the spectral readings looked disturbingly similar to what you'd expect from an engine plume. And yet, the object continued its motion with unnatural calm, showing no trace of acceleration or instability. In space, no object moves perfectly straight, except 3I Atlas. For months, it's maintained a trajectory so precise that even NASA's supercomputers struggled to account for it. Normal comets wobble and drift due to jets of vapor pushing them off course, a phenomenon known as non-gravitational acceleration. But this object has remained nearly motionless relative to its predicted orbit, deviating by less than 2 kilometers per day, 100 times more stable than any comet ever observed. It's as if it's correcting itself, staying locked to a specific route through the solar system. Astronomers began comparing it to Oumuamua and Borisov, 2 previous interstellar visitors. But even those displayed erratic behavior. 3I Atlas, in contrast, behaves more like something being guided, holding position, conserving energy, adjusting just enough to stay on course. If it were a spacecraft, this is exactly how it would fly: silent, deliberate, and efficient. The question is, toward what? And then came the discovery that sent shockwaves through the astronomy community. When scientists retraced 3I Atlas's trajectory, they realized it wasn't random. Its point of origin aligned almost perfectly with the constellation Sagittarius, the same region of space from which the mysterious WOW signal was detected in 1977. That 72-second burst of narrow-band radio waves remains one of the most compelling mysteries in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The signal's frequency, 1,420 megahertz, is the same as hydrogen's natural emission line, the universal marker of intelligent communication. Now, half a century later, an interstellar object is passing through our solar system from that exact same direction. Could the two events be connected? Could 3I Atlas be the physical counterpart of that message, a vessel carrying the same origin code as the WOW signal itself? NASA has avoided the question, but the James Webb Telescope continues to watch, recording new anomalies every day, as if something inside this object is awakening. As 3I Atlas drifted past Mars's orbital path, the James Webb Telescope's infrared sensors picked up something no one expected: a rhythmic modulation hidden within the object's glow. At first, it looked like ordinary noise, but as researchers filtered out cosmic interference, the pattern emerged clearly: a pulse repeating every 21 seconds, consistent across multiple wavelengths. It wasn't random radiation. It was ordered, deliberate, and mathematically precise. The pattern wasn't originating from the sun or reflected sunlight. It was coming from inside the object. When the pulse was converted into sound frequencies, it produced a low hum that fluctuated like a coded message. Some scientists dismissed it as magnetic resonance from metallic minerals, but others recognized something far stranger. The pulse intervals corresponded to the same numerical sequence encoded within the WOW signal. The realization was inescapable. Whatever was emitting that light wasn't just reacting to the environment. It was communicating, and the James Webb had become its accidental listener. A comet typically gets brighter and hotter as it approaches the sun, but 3I Atlas broke that rule completely. As it moved deeper into the inner solar system, instead of heating up, its surface temperature began to stabilize, even cool, in perfect equilibrium with the surrounding vacuum. The Webb telescope recorded a thin layer of material forming around the object, reflecting sunlight in irregular pulses. Spectral analysis revealed it wasn't dust or ice, but a dense metallic vapor behaving more like an energy field than a gas. It seemed to absorb solar radiation and re-emit it in precise harmonic waves, almost like a shield adapting to changing conditions. Inside that shell, the core of the object remained dark, invisible to all sensors. This anti-thermal behavior made no physical sense. It was as though the object had recognized the sun's energy as a threat and was protecting itself. The stability of its rotation and thermal profile were unlike anything natural, more like a vessel regulating its own temperature, conserving energy for something yet to come. Then came the rotation shift. Over a span of 48 hours, the James Webb recorded a dramatic change in the object's spin pattern. The rotation slowed by nearly 20%, then abruptly reversed, a feat that should be physically impossible for any unpowered body of that size. The data shocked even the mission engineers. The only plausible explanation was an internal mechanism, something capable of manipulating the object's momentum with extraordinary precision. Following the reversal, the infrared pulse pattern changed as well, its timing now perfectly synchronized with the object's new rotation. It was as if the two phenomena were connected, forming a continuous feedback loop: rotation controlling emission, emission controlling energy output. NASA attempted to classify the event as thermal torque instability, a known effect caused by uneven heating. But Webb's readings told a different story. The object wasn't destabilizing, it was calibrating. Each rotation seemed to align with gravitational vectors pointing toward the sun, then toward Earth. It wasn't tumbling randomly through space. It was orienting itself. As the object stabilized after its rotation reversal, the James Webb Telescope finally captured a clear image of 3I Atlas's nucleus using its near-infrared camera. What appeared on the data feed stunned everyone in the control room. The nucleus wasn't spherical like a comet, nor elongated like Oumuamua. It was geometric, a near-perfect hexagon, its edges sharp and symmetrical, glowing faintly with the same spectral fingerprint as its metallic vapor field. 6 distinct energy nodes pulsed along its perimeter, each firing sequentially like a rotating beacon. When plotted over time, the emissions formed a spiral pattern expanding outward, the exact shape encoded in the electromagnetic structure of the WOW signal decades ago. Scientists attempted to dismiss the symmetry as coincidence or artifacting, but the data was flawless. The Webb's readings confirmed that the pattern was physically real and sustained. The object wasn't just shaped like a construct, it behaved like one. And as it aligned its rotation toward Earth's orbital plane, a chilling question began to spread across every observatory and research center. If it's transmitting, who or what is it transmitting to? Days after the rotation reversal, the James Webb Telescope began to record a phenomenon no one could explain: a faint reflection in deep space, located just a few thousand kilometers behind 3I Atlas, moving perfectly in sync with it. At first, Analysts assumed it was debris or a lens flare, but the readings proved otherwise. The reflection emitted no heat, no light of its own, and yet it mirrored every motion of the main object with mechanical precision. Even when 3I Atlas adjusted its rotation or slightly changed speed, the reflection followed instantaneously, as if tethered by an invisible connection. The infrared instruments detected tiny distortions in spacetime between the two, faint gravitational ripples suggesting an energy link. It was as if the object had created a duplicate, a mirror self-projected in real time across the vacuum. Some theorized it was a field resonance effect. Others believed the reflection was an image of something hidden behind it. But one pattern was undeniable. Every 21 seconds, the reflection and 3I Atlas pulsed together, perfectly synchronized, like a binary system exchanging data faster than light itself. The deeper Webb looked, the clearer it became. The mirror wasn't a copy. It was a receiver. While the James Webb monitored the object from afar, strange things began happening on Earth. Magnetometers in multiple continents started registering weak but rhythmic fluctuations matching the same 21-second pulse pattern from 3I Atlas. The anomalies weren't confined to observatories. Even civilian infrastructure felt it. Communication satellites experienced minor but synchronized signal distortions. Aircraft navigation systems briefly desynchronized, and a handful of deep space antennas reported faint, low-frequency echoes bouncing back from nowhere. When the signals were analyzed, they carried fragments identical to the pulse sequence recorded from the object. Somehow, Earth was reflecting part of that same emission, as if the planet itself had become a resonant surface. NASA attempted to dismiss the reports as interference from solar storms, but solar activity was minimal. Meanwhile, data scientists began to overlay the anomalies onto the object's real-time position. What they found stunned them. The strongest magnetic pulses on Earth occurred whenever 3I Atlas aligned directly with the planet's orbital vector. Each time it passed that line, the resonance on Earth grew stronger, as though communication between the two worlds was no longer one way. After weeks of confusion, a breakthrough came from an unlikely source. A young data analyst working at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory discovered that the signal's harmonics, once thought to be random, matched a sequence embedded in archived data from 1977, the same year as the WOW signal. When both patterns were layered together, the frequencies aligned like two halves of the same transmission. One came from deep space decades ago. The other was now being replayed by 3I Atlas. The implications were staggering. It meant the signal wasn't new. It was a continuation, or worse, a reply. The analyst ran the correlation through pattern recognition algorithms and found that the merged data produced something terrifyingly precise. A mathematical representation of our solar system, complete with planetary orbits and one additional point marked just beyond Mars, the current location of 3I Atlas. The object wasn't just broadcasting, it was mapping. The signal's purpose wasn't to announce its presence. It was to synchronize positions, aligning itself with both Earth and Mars, as though activating an unseen network stretching across the system. When NASA engineers overlaid the projected points into a heliocentric model, they noticed the alignment completed a perfect geometric triangle with the Sun at its center. The James Webb Telescope detected the most significant change yet. As 3I Atlas continued its trajectory toward the inner solar system, its emissions shifted dramatically. The once stable 21-second pulse accelerated, collapsing into a continuous frequency that saturated Webb's sensors. The green glow intensified, stretching into narrow beams that extended thousands of kilometers behind it. Not a tail, but controlled streams of ionized particles forming a spiral pattern around its path. Every 20 minutes, the object would flash once, releasing bursts of radiation that traveled outward in a perfectly symmetrical cone. The last burst, however, was different. It split into three smaller streams, one directed toward the Sun, one toward Mars, and one toward Earth. The data from Webb confirmed that each beam carried identical harmonic structures, the same communication code that originated from the WOW signal decades ago. For the first time in recorded history, humanity was watching a cosmic alignment unfold in real time, not a natural one, but a deliberate triangulation. And as 3I Atlas passed the halfway point between Mars and Earth, the intensity of its emissions reached critical thresholds, strong enough to interfere with satellites in low orbit. What the James Webb captured in its final overexposed frames before its instruments temporarily went offline was unlike anything seen before, the object's geometric shell expanding, unfolding like petals of light, facing directly toward Earth. After 37 minutes of silence, the James Webb Space Telescope came back online. Its sensors, momentarily blinded by the last emission from 3I Atlas, began transmitting fragmented data packets, blurred images, spectral distortions, and bursts of encrypted telemetry. When reconstructed, the frames revealed something extraordinary. The object's outer geometry had changed entirely. What was once a compact hexagonal core had unfolded into a vast symmetrical structure resembling a lattice, hundreds of interconnected panels radiating outward like a living antenna. Each panel emitted pulses that varied across frequencies in perfect harmony, forming a wave pattern that extended far beyond the object itself. The structure wasn't just reflecting light, it was amplifying it. The energy emitted was so coherent that it began to interfere with the background radiation of the universe, briefly flattening the cosmic microwave signal that had remained constant since the dawn of time. Webb's instruments registered the effect as a temporary vacuum phase shift. But among the few who saw the raw data, another term began to circulate quietly: transmission array. 3I Atlas wasn't just sending a signal, it was preparing to receive one. As the lattice stabilized, something else began to happen across the solar system. Every probe, satellite, and space telescope capable of detecting radio frequencies started registering a rising background hum, a low, repeating oscillation that matched the precise harmonics of 3I Atlas's pulse. The hum wasn't just louder, it was directional, flowing inward, converging toward the inner planets. Within hours, the signal intensity tripled, overwhelming instruments on Mars and even disrupting ground-based communications on Earth. Engineers noticed something deeply unsettling. The hum wasn't traveling through space in a straight line. It was bending, refracting around gravitational wells as if following invisible paths. When analysts modeled these trajectories, the pattern resembled a vast web, with the Sun, Earth, and 3I Atlas forming the central nodes. In simple terms, the object had created an interplanetary resonance network. But what was being transmitted through it? Some researchers believed it was energy, others thought it was data, and a few dared to suggest something even more profound: that 3I Atlas was turning the solar system itself into a listening device, one capable of receiving signals from beyond the observable universe. Then, without warning, the hum reached the planet. Seismographs across the globe began recording subtle rhythmic vibrations, not seismic, but electromagnetic. The frequency was identical to the 21-second cycle that had defined 3I Atlas's pulse since its discovery. Electrical grids oscillated in perfect synchrony, and for a brief moment, radio receivers around the world picked up the same faint whisper buried beneath the noise, a modulation of sound so structured it resembled a voice. It was faint, distorted, and repeating in cycles of 3, low, low, high. When the audio was filtered and slowed, it revealed a pattern eerily similar to speech formants, the acoustic signature of human phonetics. The James Webb's data confirmed the impossible. The resonance was being reflected back from Earth's upper atmosphere. Whatever the object was transmitting, the planet was now echoing it. Some speculated that 3I Atlas had activated a natural resonance chamber within Earth's magnetic field, turning the planet into an amplifier. But others feared something far darker, that the signal wasn't being reflected at all. It was being absorbed. The final phase began. The James Webb Telescope, along with the Deep Space Network, detected a massive burst of energy emanating not from 3I Atlas, but from Earth's own magnetosphere. The readings were identical to those observed during the object's earlier alignments with Mars, except now the direction was reversed. Earth wasn't receiving anymore. It was transmitting. The signal, perfectly synchronized with 3I Atlas's lattice structure, formed a feedback loop that spanned millions of kilometers, connecting both bodies in a chain of resonance that extended beyond the sun's influence. The pulse frequency, once stable, began to accelerate, 21 seconds, then 19, then 17, until it became a continuous hum that saturated every known frequency band. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. Every radio telescope on the planet detected the same event, a brief but blinding burst of light from the direction of the object, followed by silence. When Webb's instruments recalibrated minutes later, 3I Atlas was no longer in its predicted orbit. The area where it should have been was empty, replaced by a faint residual glow, a perfect hexagonal imprint frozen in space, slowly dissipating. Yet the resonance didn't fade. It persisted, not from space, but from beneath our own atmosphere, as if the signal had found a new origin, right here on Earth. When the last echo from 3I Atlas faded, the world thought it was over. The object had vanished, the sky had gone silent, and every telescope across the solar system reported nothing but static. But the silence didn't last. Within hours, a new signal appeared. Not from space this time, but from the ground itself. Deep radio observatories buried beneath the Antarctic ice began picking up electromagnetic fluctuations identical to the object's pulse pattern. The signal wasn't coming from above, it was emanating upward, through the planet, from somewhere deep within Earth's crust. At first, scientists believed it was a residual harmonic, the aftershock of a cosmic event still echoing through the magnetic field. But then, as the data accumulated, one terrifying realization became clear. The pattern wasn't decaying, it was growing stronger. The James Webb Telescope, now fully operational again, was retasked to search the area of space where 3I Atlas had disappeared. What it found defied every known law of physics. The region wasn't empty, it was reflective. Every time the telescope emitted a pulse or signal, the data returned mirrored, as if space itself had become an echo chamber, bouncing our own transmissions back to us, distorted and delayed. The timing of the echoes perfectly matched the rhythm of the pulses detected on Earth. The connection was undeniable. 3I Atlas hadn't simply vanished, it had transferred its resonance. Somehow, whatever mechanism the object carried had synchronized with Earth's own magnetic field, embedding its pattern into the planet's electromagnetic heart. Days later, something even stranger happened. Global magnetometers detected minute oscillations aligning into a coherent global rhythm, a heartbeat that pulsed every 17 seconds, exactly matching the object's final frequency before disappearance. The resonance was faint but omnipresent, detectable everywhere from the ocean floor to the ionosphere. When converted into audio frequencies, the hum resembled a deep tone, structured, modulated, repeating. Linguists analyzing the pattern noticed phonetic regularities, subtle inflections resembling the cadence of speech, though no language could be identified. It wasn't random. It was organized, deliberate. The signal had adapted to its new host. Governments rushed to downplay the event, branding it electromagnetic interference. Yet, independent observatories continued to record the phenomenon, noting one more impossible detail. Every time the signal peaked, faint vibrations could be detected in the planet's gravitational field, like something moving beneath the surface, vast and slow, responding to the pulse. A joint task force led by ESA and NASA conducted deep seismic scans of the mantle and discovered anomalies. Massive hexagonal patterns of magnetized rock stretching for thousands of kilometers, structures that had never been detected before. The geometry matched perfectly with the lattice that 3I Atlas had unfolded moments before it vanished. The evidence was irrefutable. The resonance hadn't just imprinted on Earth. It had manifested inside it. By the time the world began to take it seriously, it was already too late to stop. The hum had synchronized with every electromagnetic system on the planet. Communication networks, radio towers, even the electrical grid itself. What began as a faint signal from an interstellar object had become the global background noise of civilization. So what did the James Webb really detect out there? Was 3I Atlas a machine, a messenger, or something else entirely? A fragment of a larger consciousness that's been waiting for the right resonance to awaken? Maybe it wasn't coming toward us. Maybe it was coming back. Whatever it was, one thing is certain. The universe didn't send a message this time. It sent an echo, and now it's coming from us.